To meet again. I hope everyone is doing well. I hope everyone is safe, especially the Floridians. In today's video, Floridians, South Carolinians, North Carolinians, but today's video I wanted to talk about the Exotical community and the Black community online and what I've gotten from them over the years. And I have been online since 2007, definitely, and then subscribed to channels by 2015, made my account in 2015, so I was subscribing to channels in 2015, and I have come across a lot of channels. I have found a lot of people of color, whether they are of African descent or whether they are Spanish speaking or Asian. Like, I've just followed a lot of different channels. Actually, the first channel I followed, like the first channel I subscribed to, the lady Lily Singh, she's Asian Canadian. She's Indian Canadian and East Indian. So, yeah. And just to clarify, so whenever I say African American, I'm referring to people who have been here for a few hundred years based on either having ancestors who were free men, free African people, or who were emancipated or who were enslaved at one point or another. So I'm talking about people who have that history. Whenever I say African, I'm talking about people who are from immigrant families within the last 100 years or more recently, who are from a particular African country. Um, Caribbean people are multiple different ethnicities, but predominantly the ones I'm speaking about are going to be like have African descent as well, even if they're mixed with Indian or some other mixture, whether it's European, Indian, indigenous. And when I said Indian the first time, I meant like East Indian. They're like Indian people, African people, Jewish people have like some of the widest diasporas, and I hope that's the correct way to say it, but have some of the most, like, have spread so far with the diasporas of their particular communities. It's amazing. So yeah, so whenever I say East Indian or Indian, I'm talking about people of Indian descent and not indigenous or native. And what's the other one? What's the other one? And then there's mixed biracial, but we all know what that is. And so with this video, I want to talk about like what I've gotten from both of the communities. So I've been subscribed to multiple people from different backgrounds because of their background or in spite of their background, and some of them are beauty channels, some of them are perfume channels, some of them specifically speak about like black topics and celebrities and personal stories. Some people just do story times and wig videos. So yeah, I follow a variety of people. A lot of them are of African descent in one way or another, whether they're mixed biracial or just from one particular ethnic group. And I love to see it. I love to see the diversity. I follow people who are not of African descent in any way whatsoever because I just love people. I love hearing from different people, no matter what they're talking about. If I find the subject interesting, I'm going to follow it and pay attention. So the things that I've found from the communities that I like or dislike, I'm going to share. And I made a list, so I'm going to be reading my notes as I go. So one of the first things from the black community that I found that I don't like is that it's a problem to acknowledge if someone has admixture. So of course there's people who grew up in like a black family, when the black family is usually considered two black parents, whether the parents know that they have mixed DNA or not. So two parents that identify as black and the child identifies as black, even if the child ends up being questioned by other people about what are they mixed with, those kids usually end up being like offended and saying, oh, I'm black mixed with black, like there's nothing else. And it's perfectly fine to be proud of heritage, because some of us only know our African American part of our families. So there's nothing wrong with being proud of our heritage, but it's definitely, some people definitely get questioned more than others, and some people feel like they have to prove themselves about that. So I feel like we don't acknowledge that, and like thankfully, well, some people, anyway, the only community that definitely acknowledges that, besides like children who are biracial or mixed who do know about their ancestry and their DNA, are like Creoles from Louisiana. Like, they know about their mixture, they represent their mixtures, and they identify strongly with that. So outside of outside of Louisiana, I feel like it's a problem for some black folks to be able to do that. And personally, me not being super aware of celebrities or their background unless I do a Google search of them, and I've never done a Google search of Beyonce, I knew that she identified with black culture, but I didn't realize that she also identified with Louisiana Creole. So like, that's something that I've been finding out from the Exotical community. So I appreciate that. Anyway, so another point that I don't like is that a few years ago, within the last few years, I think it was after 2020, a YouTuber did a live stream or a video about a young man who lost his life to his girlfriend who was white. The young man was black. It was found out that the black man had made some like rude and disrespectful comments about black women when he was alive. And so this YouTuber was basically celebrating his loss of life because of his disrespect towards black women, and saying he got what he got because he got with a white woman. And I was just like, that is messed up that he was so disrespectful towards women, black women, but like, I don't celebrate that kind of action taken against him by someone who should not have harmed him in that kind of way. Like, I would prefer to be respected, but I didn't know this young man, and I feel bad for his loss of life, and I did not support the way this woman spoke about the incident. I was like, wow, this is very inhumane to feel like that because a man that you didn't know disrespected black women online. Like, we definitely, most people don't want to be disrespected, whether a man or a woman, but to internalize disrespect towards a group that you are part of, and then that person lose their life and you celebrate it, is definitely like weird, inhumane behavior that I can't get behind. So I did not like that. So let me see. Okay, so another point is that within the black community online, and this is not everyone, when I'm speaking about this, I forgot to say this, I think, but when I'm speaking about this, this is just what I've seen. This is not every online account that I've seen. I'm not subscribed to many people who have super, like, obviously, okay, people that I'm subscribed to, like the ones who speak about black topics or black relationships or mixed relationships, interracial relationships, I don't agree with every single thing the person says, but I do, and I'm subscribed from people who have said something to the point where I'm like, ooh, I don't like this anymore. I don't like this content. So there's multiple people that I'm not subscribed to that I stopped agreeing with their content at some point. Some people I was just trying to figure out what their points were, but I was like, yeah, I'm not going to be around here. So a few people have brought up like women. Let me see. Let me make sure. Okay, so women who are not black identified, or women who are mixed and do possibly have African descent, some black women have like laughed at, diminished the pain that these women experienced, or use these women to make a lesson towards black women when these women experience some kind of problem in their relationship, whether they were harmed physically, mentally, or they were left with a child. I'm just like, I don't like women being harmed in any way, so to like laugh at it because this is a man who was like, oh, disrespecting this woman in a very extreme way, I'm just like, how can you get behind a man doing something bad to a woman just because this woman is not part of your group? Like, that doesn't make sense to me. So I don't like that. And then that some women make all of their points about some women make all their points because they're like talking about black topics, they make all of their points about like how black men interact with them or with other women who are not part of the black community. It's like always about men, always talking about what the men are doing, how to attract the man, like whatever. I'm just like, I don't find that interesting. Um, Another point that I found, and this was from a recent live stream. So Exoticals United had posted that Chrissy was doing a live stream, and I was like, oh, let me see what it's talking about. So I went in there and I was like, oh, that's kind of rude. Let me leave. So one of the things Chrissy said is she assumes that a light skinned woman is colorist unless she is proven otherwise. And I was like, yeah, I don't have time for that. So I left the live because even if I wasn't a Christian, even if I wasn't one of Jehovah's Witnesses, like, I've never been colorist all my life. Like, I've said problematic things growing up. I've said problematic things even to this day. But I've either apologized for it or I don't think like that anymore. And for somebody to like, I've never been colorist. I have tried to express racism before, but I don't believe in being racist. Like, if someone is racist towards me, I avoid them. Back in my childhood and my youth, if somebody expressed racism towards me, I would try to hurt them with words as well, and I don't do that anymore. I'm just like, just stay away from me if you're gonna be like that. So I don't have patience for people who their first interaction with me is going to be based on my skin color, and they're going to be thinking I'm colorist when that's not who I am. So I don't have time for that. So also another problem, let me see. Oh, another thing that I started seeing in a lot of content, because as I was trying to research more and more about like colorism, I only started finding out about colorism in like the last, I don't know, maybe 2018, maybe 2017, 2019. I started finding out what colorism was, and I was like, oh, that's what I experienced when I was younger, or that's what it was. So whenever I would try to research things, it would be someone, so I would say people who look like me, whether they are dark skin or light skin or brown skin, I'm usually talking about someone of African descent like me. So whenever people who look like me would be doing a video about colorism, they would usually be talking about a celebrity who was light skinned, and they would be saying, oh, this celebrity, this and this and that. Basically, like, implying that the celebrity is the cause of the colorism instead of the music industry or the acting industry or whatever entertainment field that they're in. They would basically apply and imply that the light skinned person was the cause of this situation and not allowing a dark skinned person in the same field to excel because of their skin color. And I was just like, why is this lesson always being given? Why is this lesson always being put on the light skinned person as if this person is in control and in power? And I just find it extremely weird. So I'm going to read the definition of colorism again. Oh wait, I'll read that later. Okay. So I don't like that because they're always, like, the celebrity is always being blamed for colorism because they're light skinned instead of saying that they benefit from colorism because they're light skinned. It's usually kind of implied that they're basically causing it, even though they're not causing it. They're just benefiting from it, which is unfortunate, but it's not the celebrity's fault. Let's see, what's the next point? Oh, the next point is that there's always this implied competition, like between light skinned and dark skinned women or brown skinned women. There's always this competition that comes up, and I only seen it online because I don't live in the black community. I don't have a large black community around me. I live in an area with very few black people, and they're from all parts of the world: African, African American, Caribbean, Afro Latinos. So I don't like that online when people talk about light skin, dark skin, brown skin, it's always like in connection to some competition with for a man's attention in some kind of way, as if the men are the only thing that validates a person's skin color. Basically, I'm just like, why is this color always in reference to man? So, for example, um, Barbie 2.0 was doing this video on this nurse who was basically being offered like lunch, her lunch to be paid for, and so somebody cash apped it to her, and she basically told the man, oh, this is not enough. So this nurse was a beautiful dark-skinned woman, a professional woman, and she was like, this is not enough, and she was complaining about it, and everybody in the comment section of the video that she posted about it was saying, oh, you don't have a right to complain because blah 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 blah. Like, stop asking people for money, basically, I think is what the point was. So then Barbie 2.0 did comparison of a light-skinned woman who was being followed down the street by a man with a camera who was basically like asking her out, and she was like, I don't have time for you unless you have money for me. And people in the comments were saying, and people in the comments related to that video were basically saying, oh, like, he's bothering her, like she shouldn't have to deal with that. My whole point is that the situations weren't comparable, and we found out that the light-skinned woman with the camera behind her was basically in a skit of some kind, so it wasn't a real situation. But the fact is, a man following you down the street trying to talk to you, recording you, is not comparable to someone online trying to give you a cash app for your lunch. And like, they were trying to say, Barbie 2.0 was trying to say that the dark-skinned nurse, the beautiful dark-skinned nurse, was basically being experiencing colorism because she was getting like negative feedback from people because she was ungrateful, whereas this light-skinned woman was basically upfront saying that she wanted money to have an interaction with this man, and she was not getting any flack for it. And I was just like, they're not comparable. The only way it would be comparable if it was the exact situation, same situation, and the women got treated differently based on their skin tone. But the fact is, no man should be following a woman down the street with a camera in her face, bothering her when she said don't talk to her because she's trying to do something. And it was just not a comparable situation, and like, it involved men, and like, I was like, this is not a competition. Like, the intentions and the attention and the intentions were different, and the feedback that both of the women got was based on their actual interactions, and it shouldn't have been based on their skin color. So I was like, everything is not a competition, everything is not really comparable just because it's two women. So I was just like, I don't like that. Okay, so yeah, so that's what I've been seeing in the black community. And when I see the exotical community, so I think I caught everything that I wanted to bring out about the black community, because there are points that I want to hear, there are things that I want to listen to, things that I think about, and things that I feel bad for. But at the same time, being a Christian woman who's not dating, I don't feel any desire to like get a man's attention. It's not my interest, it's not what I'm looking for. And I'm gonna probably do another video about like not dating, because I want to just explain why that is, and it's kind of complicated for me. So anyway, so for the exotical community, find the exotical community in 2024 of January or December 2023. The first thing that I got from it is that I was like walking on sunshine. I felt like pretty, and the thing is, I am super comfortable in my own skin. I don't think about myself being pretty. I definitely see how, I'm not around the black community. I definitely see how women have treated me, like either finding out that I'm older than they thought I was, so then they stop being catty with me, or women knowing that we're the same age and they are catty with me because there's a man around, and I'm just like, I'm not interested in that man. Like, why is this an issue? So I know that I'm pretty, but I don't really care because I'm not thinking about that. I'm just super comfortable in my own skin. I like myself, there's things obviously that I want to change about like my internal life, but like my outward, I just like to work out and I try to make that a part of my regular life. But other than that, like there's nothing that I really want to change, and grow my hair longer. But yeah, so I just felt beautiful like listening to the Exotical community, and like was walking on sunshine. I started to like research more about my identity again and my genetic makeup. And it made me feel like I was seen, because even though I love being around black people, whether online or in person, like I'm not around black people all the time, and it was nice to be included in something that included me, even though I identify as a African American woman and I am light skinned. But more about that later. And it made me, like I said, it made me look more into my genetic background. So I do know that I'm African American, I'm multi-generationally mixed, and I appreciated looking into that. And I actually did that earlier, like I did, actually originally did that in 2016, and I'll still do a video about that. Okay, let me see. That's a funny note. I don't know what that means. What did I write that for? Oh, okay. I think this is what I mean. Okay. So I wrote not light skin but light skin. So with one of my YouTube buddies, she has a channel. We both agree like we don't identify as being light skin. Like it's not like our identity, but I know that I'm light skin. So I appreciated that the Exotical community accepted people who were light skin, monoracial, light skin mixed, um, dark skin mixed, and biracial. Like they accepted all those people who identify with that. And I was like, well, I know I'm not monoracial 100%, and I don't remember what I am particularly. But yeah, I came to find out about the term about being multi-generationally mixed when I came to the Exotical channel, and I was like, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, that is something that we don't talk about in the black community. So I was so glad to find out about that, because the Creoles know about that. Louisiana Creoles know about that, but the rest of the black community doesn't really know about that. And I was just like, I'm so glad that that is being brought up. And if there's content that I don't like, doesn't apply to me, I can still support the channels that I find the subject matter to be interesting. So I try to do that whenever that happens. But I do love that about the Exotical community. And oh, main point that I learned from the Exotical community, the true meaning of colorism. And I was just like, wow, thank you. So colorism, I'm going to read the definition as made by Alice Walker in 1982, and it is from publication title Washington University Global Studies Law Review, and I will try to link this in a video. So colorism is a term believed to be first coined in 1982 by Pulitzer Prize winner Alice Walker, and it was defined by her to mean the prejudicial or preferential treatment of same-race people based solely on their color. And it is not racism, although there is a clear relationship. And then this article goes on to explain that colorism can also be experienced by black people or any other person of color, by people outside their group, if they're choosing if they're basically choosing one skin tone person over a different skin tone person from the same race. So if they were choosing a light skinned person for a job over a dark skinned person, particularly based on their skin color, that would be colorism, even though the person hiring wasn't a black person. So colorism can be experienced by people, and that's also called, like, I think it's called light skin privilege as well, depending on what's going on. But I was like, wow, because all up and down, as I was trying to research what colorism was online, it was always like, oh, it's a light-skinned person being colorist towards a dark-skinned person. It's an entertainment business not giving dark-skinned people opportunities that they give to light-skinned people. And it was always like put on light-skinned people as if they were perpetuating it, and not not also like fighting against it or not trying to promote colorism. So I was just like, that's not nice. Like I appreciate that. So I also want to read. So it says preferential or prejudicial. So prejudice based on, where is this? Oh no, did I lose my note? So this is based on the Merriam-Webster dictionary that was published in 1979. I was looking for my sticky note. Anyway, so prejudice, and I'm going to read definition number 2A, and then 1. So it's broken up. So there's one definition of prejudice is preconceived judgment or opinion. Another definition of prejudice is an opinion or leaning adverse. Wait, what? Opinion or leaning adverse to anything without just grounds or before sufficient knowledge. Mouthful, right? An opinion or leaning adverse to anything without just grounds or before sufficient knowledge. Another definition, an instance of such judgment or opinion. And the last definition that is most often used, an irrational attitude of hostility directed against an individual, a group, a race, or their supposed characteristics. So a lot of colorism that I've been like seeing and hearing about is usually like online, and it's usually someone who's dark skinned who's talking about someone light skinned as if that person is like benefiting from something that they want, whether it's a man, whether it's a career, whether it's, and I'm just like, stop placing all of that on that person as if that person controls it. Most of the time someone, like, I don't know, I know me, I'm not in competition with anyone, whether I was famous or not. I'm not famous, obviously, but I'm not in competition with anyone. I'm trying to do the best that I can be to be a good person and to keep my relationship with God as strong as possible. So for someone to like, and everyone is different, everyone has different values in life, but for someone to just base their opinion on you based on your skin tone is super annoying. Okay, preferential treatment, showing preference. Yeah, so that's one easy definition. So yeah, colorism is basically showing prejudice, preferential or prejudicial treatment towards someone based on their skin color, and that can be dark skin, light skin, that could be brown skin, light skin, brown skin, dark skin, whatever. And multiple different ethnicities experience colorism, multiple different racial groups, identities, Latinos experience colorism. But yeah, in the black community in particular, like, it's always been as if somebody is being colorist towards a dark skinned woman, and that dark skinned women are not colorist towards light skinned women. I just like all of it to stop, because I'm just like, we see it going on, we see that it's going both ways, and people always want to make it seem like it's just going one way, and I'm like, it's not going one way, because every time I hear a colorism conversation, it's usually as if someone's pointing blame at someone who's lighter, and it's not always the case. And it's usually that the light skinned person is benefiting from it, and it's not that they're trying to perpetuate it. They're just benefiting from it, and they are not in a position of power to like go against it necessarily. So I'm just like, oh boy, stop. So that's the other thing. So the last thing that I got from the Exotical community is that, yeah, it just reminds, like, finding that community reminded me to embrace all of my DNA. So I did my DNA test in 2016 and forgot about it. I looked at it over the years, connected with some people, saw some of my family members in the ancestry results, but I fully embraced it. So now I do identify as African American or multi-generationally mixed, and I appreciate knowing that that's an option because I did not grow up knowing that that was a thing to say. Definitely knew about mixed, definitely knew about biracial, definitely knew that like I have ancestry in my family that's native, that's European, that's African, that's what's the other one? Oh, those are main ones because I was gonna say Asian, but no. So I definitely knew that I have that in my family's history and my family's family tree, but did not embrace all of it all the time, and I will talk about that in another video. But those are the differences. I feel like there's definitely like talking points for both communities that can seem like problematic, that can seem like they're talking about everyone. But basically, anytime someone's making a point, unless they make a big generalization, they're usually just talking about the people that that applies to within that group. And I just take a lot of stuff with a grain of salt because I'm just like, I don't think that way. I don't think that way. I don't think that way. I'm not worried about that. I'm not thinking about that. So yeah, I am not in competition with anyone. And trying to figure out if I'm going to talk about it in this video or another video. But I'm not in competition with anyone. I love everyone because of their skin tones, in spite of their skin tones, because like I don't care what color you are as long as you're a nice person and you treat me nicely and you're not like treating people that I love rudely and improperly and inconsiderately. Like I'm not gonna have anything against you, but like once somebody does show their side to show themselves to be like, you know, negative or something, I'm not gonna be down with it. So I'm just like, I don't have time to be like picking friends based on their skin tone. Like that's not me. Like I did tell one of my YouTube friends, I do think like dark skinned people are exceptionally beautiful, but that's just because their skin tone is unique. They're not the only beautiful people, obviously, but dark skin is beautiful. Like it's very beautiful, but light skinned people exist. There's nothing wrong with being light skinned, and I think that people, yeah, I think that people should just recognize that no matter what their beliefs in, whether they believe in God or don't believe in God, like people should not be coming for people just based on their skin tone or just based on who they think men are attracted to, because not everybody is interested in getting a man. Not everybody wants the same man that somebody else wants. So I'm just like, everything is not a competition. So yeah, that's my take on that. And I love the exotical community. I love the black community, and there's parts of both that I can like enjoy, but the parts that I mentioned that I don't enjoy from the black community, I definitely stopped watching content creators who celebrate things like that because